everyone. My name is Paige Weshy, and I'm the Assistant Executive Director of Defiance County Economic Development. I just wanted to start off our event by saying welcome and thank you all for joining us today to commemorate the dedication of our Four Flags of Freedom Veteran Monument. Though no words or gesture could ever fully repay the debt we owe to our veterans, this monument stands as a humble symbol of our unwavering appreciation for their courageous deeds. But I know you're all waiting to see the flag finally fly, so let us begin our ceremony.
Oh, beautiful, for spacious skies, for amber waves of gray, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, God shed His grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, God shed His grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. America, sweet America, God shed His grace on thee. He crowned thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
You can go ahead and hook the flag. If you roll it in together, would you like to sing while they're doing this part? You can sing anything. And then once we get it hooked, I'll do a national anthem.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, amber waves of grain, purple mountain majesty above the fruited plain. America, God shed His grace on thee. He crowned thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. America, God shed His grace
If you are able and not already, we ask you to please rise and remove your hats for the playing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
All right. All I have to say is, wow. Let this flag fly high as a testament to the heroism of those who have donned the uniform while facing untold dangers and making unimaginable sacrifices to safeguard the freedoms we enjoy today. For many, including myself, this monument represents a deeply personal connection, honoring the legacies of family members, friends, and neighbors who have answered the call to service, some of whom made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our nation. It is our solemn obligation to ensure that their legacies live on and to inspire future generations to uphold the values of courage, selflessness, and unwavering patriotism that have defined the American spirit throughout our history. This project has been almost 2 years in the making, and I cannot even begin to describe how fulfilling it is to finally see the first flag standing before us today. Our goal is to have the second flag located at Whirler up before the end of June, and for the third and fourth flags located at ProMedica and Premier Bank, we need an additional 25,000 of our 200,000 goal to complete those. And you might be wondering, why 4 flags? Well, when this project was originally brought up, the goal was to have 1 flag, but we said, what about 4? So we can see one from every single exit here in Defiance County. But we didn't want to just put up 4 flags. We wanted to make them significant. So we have 1 flag for those who are currently serving, 1 flag for those who made it home safely, 1 flag for those who were injured in war, and 1 for those who did not make it home. Today, you are standing in front of the pole of those who made it home safely, which aligns perfectly with Keller's Operation Havoc initiative. For the remainder of the ceremony, we have some incredible messages and stories that will be told by a lineup of our guest speakers. Also, a quick note for any veterans in the audience today, please make sure you take home with you a commemorative coin, which is at the table here next to us. And if we run out, please leave your name, address, and phone number so we can ensure we get one to you. But now, I would like to introduce our first guest speaker, Brian Keller, who is the CEO of Keller Logistics Group and the original mastermind behind bringing a massive USA flag to Defiance County. Brian, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Paige. Good afternoon. This is a great day for Defiance with honoring our veterans with the Four Flags of Freedom Initiative. I'm proud to have the honor of representing the Those Who Made It Home flag. For context, this flag is longer than our semi-trailer. So a semi-trailer is 53 foot long, and this flag is 60 foot long. So that's pretty incredible that we're doing that here in Defiance, Ohio. I was inspired with this idea of Defiance putting in large U.S. flags when going to Dallas and driving to one of my warehouses, where along a stretch of highway, there was 4 flags flying, one at each car dealership. It's really majestic to see these 4 flags about the same size flying through there. And I thought we could do this in Defiance and be a place that really shows our commitment to our veterans, our law enforcement, and how we represent the American values of resiliency, strength, the entrepreneurial spirit that our 4 founders had to create this, the strongest company, the greatest country in the world. To me, Defiance really embodies these traits and values. Heck, our name to our town is Defiance, so if that doesn't say something for you there. The other idea of bringing this to Defiance is to show travelers, who we are, and to bring tourists into our community to come see the great things we do and meet these people like who the heck are from Defiance, Ohio, and why are they so bold to put these big flags up. I also feel like when businesses come and thinking about locating in Defiance, they're going to be like, wow, this county has things going on here. They really care about our community. They must be very civic-minded people. So in donating this flag, at Keller Logistics Group, it just goes on with our core values of giving back to our community, our passion of supporting our veterans, like with Operation Kavik, and our mission of enriching as many lives as possible. So congrats to Erica and Paige on this exciting project. They attacked it with a tenacity that was really impressive. In fact, that's how they attack all of the prospects that come to Defiance. They really work hard and diligent on getting the project to the finish line, and really to get this done in 2 short years, raising $175,000 already is just so impressive. So congrats, Eric and Paige, on the job well done. Thank you all for coming here. God bless you all. Next, our County Commissioner, David Kern.
Good afternoon, everybody. Got some cloud cover. That's probably great. Appreciated by most of you guys. Today, I am not only privileged but humbled to be able to stand up here in front of all of you and speak on the honor, to honor all those that are currently serving and have served this great country. About a year ago, our office was approached with an idea. A vision of a way we can boldly state the pride that Defiance County and its residents have for the military, their families, and all the sacrifices made for our everyday freedoms. Our support in our office has since never wavered. We have 4 flags and 4 meanings. A little over a year ago, my son Caden wanted to sit down and go somewhere to eat dinner. I knew exactly where that conversation was headed. We had talked for years about what Caden was going to do with his life moving forward. Enlisting in the military was always somewhere at the top of that list. You see, Caden had a family full of veterans, a stepdad, uncles, cousins, mostly Marines and an Army vet, including a local boy with the call sign Woofy, who would later go on to have a distinguished military career as a Marine pilot and achieving the rank of colonel while serving as a base commander in Japan. It was almost inevitable. So now I'm the very proud father of, you guessed it, a United States Marine. I tell you this little story because the passion I have for this project is not political, nor is it for any of us. It's personal. 4 flags, 4 meanings. In a little over a year, my son, ironically, has had 4 losses of life that has surrounded him since he enlisted. People that he knew, cared for, trained with. 3, I get a little choked up, sorry. 3 were fellow Marines that tragically took their lives, and the 4th, was a friend from back home. It is not only during wartime that sacrifices are being made by these brave souls. It is every day, from the morning lacing up their boots till they close their eyes dreaming of everyone back home. Their sacrifices are constant. Yet they do their jobs to allow us the freedom to choose to do ours. While we are reading legislation, they are protecting the body that we are trying to legislate. While we are kicking up dirt, playing America's pastime, they are kicking up dirt, fighting for us to be able to have a pastime to enjoy. These 4 flags are not just a project, a talking piece, or an attraction. They are a thank you to all those risking their lives so we can sleep at night. They are the resounding appreciation we have back home for those that are away. It is a stand taken by our community and their leaders to honor all those sacrifices made. 4 flags and 4 meanings. 1 for those that are active, 1 for those who made it home, 1 for those who have been injured in war, and 1 for those that paid the ultimate sacrifice and never made it back. These 4 flags will shine like a beacon of hope. Hope for a better tomorrow, for a better future, and continued freedom. These 4 flags are a testament that sacrifices will never be forgotten, nor taken for granted. After the 4th flag is raised and the project is complete, and it's a part of our community, I would urge you to take the drive and pass all 4. Remember what each flag represents. I will pray for the brave souls. I will thank them for their sacrifices, and I will be proud for what they fight for. Thank you, and God bless. Our next speaker is Brock Coburn from Whirler.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Brock Coburn from Whirler. I would like to start by thanking the Defiance County Economic Development Group for everything they've done to getting this project happening. Most people here probably know Whirler is a locally owned and operated company, but you may not know that we were founded by 2 veterans, Jerry Wirtz and Tom Taylor. So when we were asked to be a site for one of these 4 flags of freedom, we did not hesitate to jump on board of such a great project. These flagpoles are not just flagpoles. They truly are a landmark to help honor all veterans. Having the Defiance Economic Development Group create these landmarks for us is an amazing thing for our community. With that, I will finish by thanking all the veterans. You all have made a great sacrifice for our country, and we cannot thank you enough. Thanks.
Well, hello, I'm Erica Willitzer. I'm the Executive Director at Defiance County Economic Development. And our office might have led this great initiative, but it only truly happened because of all the speakers behind me and their teams. I mean, they've been spectacular in supporting us. So if you guys could all give them a round, I would really appreciate it. Also, we have one amazing team member at Defiance County Economic Development, and she led this entire initiative, and that's Paige Weshy. She's 23. You're 25? 25 still. Everybody's always knocking on people that are young. Let me tell you, we've got young people that are doing amazing things like this. So Paige did an amazing job doing this entire initiative. I'm here to tell you a few stories about my grandfather, Chauncey Long Sr. He was known by most as Chance Long. It's a fitting name because he came close to death many times. My grandpa was one of 5 brothers from Defiance County who all served in the military, and they all made it home, but not without scars. There was Arthur Long, who served in World War II, Lo Long, who served in Korea, Jim Long, who served in the Air Force, Ralph Long, who served in the Army stateside. My grandpa served in World War II in the 83rd Division, 330th Infantry in Normandy, northern France, Central Europe, and he was wounded in Germany. He received a Bronze Star and a Purple Heart, among many others. My grandfather's namesake is here with us today, Chauncey Long Jr., but I call him Uncle Buzz. Buzz Long also served in the Army from 1969 to 1971. There's my Uncle Buzz. You got a raise, yes. Thank you for your service. I feel so incredibly indebted to the brave women and men who have served and protected our great nation. And I know that my own father, Paul Long, who is also here today, I would say wave your hand, but he's a little shy, okay. But I know he feels indebted too, and I'll tell you why. Because he has cataloged my grandfather's entire military service. And he even had him retell some of the amazing things that happened to him when he was alive. And I'm going to read 2 of those entries. We were on patrol in Germany with little action coming our way. One morning as we were camped, sniper fighters started coming into camp, injuring several men. The company told myself and one other man to find that SOB and destroy him. We knew the general area the sniper was, so we headed there slowly. Rounding a curve, we suddenly came upon our sniper, sitting in the middle of the road. Wow, what a god-awful sight. That sniper was a German tank. That's guns were aimed right at us. Well, we had 2 choices, run or die. Doing an about-face, we ran like hell, zigging and zagging for our lives. On the retreat, the boy with me got shot too many times to count by a gunfire. Still being shot at, I felt something warm running down my leg. I had not felt any pain, so I kicked it up into high gear, running faster than I knew I could even run. Slipping around a curve in the road, I stopped to survey my damage. To my surprise, the bullet hit my water canteen, and I wasn't wounded. I immediately headed back to camp, and they called in backup. The result ended in devastation for that sniper. The other story is about a termite hill. Somewhere in Germany, we were taking heavy barrage of fire. I had found a fence for cover that had termite hills alongside it. I was shooting my rifle as fast as it would fire. This went on for several hours. The last thing I remembered was shooting my rifle behind that termite hill at the Germans. When I came to, I was laying on the opposite side of the fence along that mound of dirt that I had used for cover. But there was nothing but quiet in the area. No shooting, no guns, and nobody. Apparently, that mortar round had hit at the base of this termite mound, sending me and the hill over the fence. I had been unconscious for a while before I awoke, and I got my gear together and headed in the direction of my camp. I marched there for about a few hours and finally strolled into camp. Never in my life had I received such stares of disbelief. Unknown to me, I was reported killed in action. After giving an account of what had taken place, the guys realized that I was one hard-headed, lucky soldier with an empty stomach. My husband loves watching war movies. I dislike them with a passion. It's so raw, it's so real, it's painful. I mean, just thinking about how my grandpa went through that, it bothers me. But this one day, my husband called me in and said, hey, you need to come in and watch the end of this movie. They are actually interviewing the men that were portrayed in real life. This one gentleman had actually served in World War II, and he said that his little granddaughter, who was about 5 years old, came up to him and said, Papa, are you a hero? The veteran and the grandfather responded without hesitation, oh no, I'm no hero. But I did serve in a company of heroes. That is exactly the attitude that my grandfather had. His 4 brothers had, all from Defiance County. And quite frankly, that is how most veterans are. They serve to keep our great nation intact without asking anything in return. We are the home of the free because of the brave, and that's what this flag signifies. Now I leave you with a letter that was sent to my grandfather by one of his friends that he served with named Will Brown. Will wrote this if he didn't make it back. By the time you read this, I will be dead and buried. It would have been nice to have lived a few more years, but that's not how it worked out. I still have no regrets, nor would I change my life if I had to do it over. I have been very lucky, and I have left few things undone. I can only hope that I have left you with more pleasant than unpleasant memories. I've had a good batting average when it comes to people that have crossed my path. Of the hundreds of people that I have met and been associated with, only a few have been stinkers. The rest have been a wonderful experience. I always thought that a clever person will quit while he is ahead, and I guess that's what I have done. I always try to look on the bright side of things. And I hope that you will do the same. I had a terrific life, but it's over. It's over now. It's not for you. So take advantage of every hour, every day, and every year. With love, your friend, Will. Our featured speaker today lives that motto. He served in the United States Army Rangers from 1985 to 1992. I actually met him in a leadership training. It is one of the best leadership courses I've ever taken, and it is because Clint Myers holds nothing back. He uses his experiences to help others, no matter how difficult it might be to share. It's been over 10 years since I took that course, and Clint is still making a difference today. Please help me give a warm welcome to Army Ranger veteran Clint Myers.
Good afternoon. You'll be glad to know I won't be singing today for you. Wasn't that a wonderful song? And I haven't seen the flag yet, so wow, that's cool. I'm not here today to talk about the Rangers. I'm here to talk about my family and their military service. And I was thinking about when Erica asked me to speak today, and the first time I can go back and remember a really strong image of the American flag is it being draped over my grandfather's casket. My grandfather was an infantryman in hotel company, heavy infantry during World War II. He went over as the first round of replacements after the D-Day invasion. And his unit was in the Battle of the Bulge, and the Germans had made one of their blitzes and pushed in about 40 miles and changed up the boundary lines. And grandfather's unit was behind enemy lines now. And they fought till they ran out of gas and they ran out of bullets. Their company commander surrendered the unit to save life. So Grandpa Harold, he found himself in a prisoner of war camp in Germany. But what I wanted to focus on in that story is that grandma back home, Mary, she had two small children, a 9-year-old and a 2-year-old. And she started her own wallpaper business to support herself because Grandpa's private pay wasn't enough to make ends meet. So Grandma's raising two small children. Her husband's gone. They don't come from means. They're getting by paycheck to paycheck. She starts her own independent business as a woman, hanging wallpaper, and she wallpapered then the rest of her life into her 70s. But we oftentimes don't think of who's supporting those veterans. We give a lot of support, and rightfully so, to the people who've served and took that step. But I know my mother probably aged 5 or 10 years in the 7 years I served because she was always worried. I had to call her every week or write a letter every week, or she didn't know what was going on. To implement that back into World War II, hanging in my grandfather's case in my workshop is a letter from the post marshal stating that my grandfather was a prisoner of war. And everybody goes, oh, what a horrible telegram to receive. Well, the one that had been received 2 months before that had been that my grandfather was missing in action. And so Grandma, while she's raising these two small children and doing her own business and trying to make ends meet, for 2 months doesn't know whether her husband's dead or alive. So when she got that note from the Western Union saying that he was a prisoner of war, she was celebrated. She was happy. It wasn't a depressed day. He was still alive. There was still hope. Grandpa had been in the hospital right before that because a mortar round had hit, blew up, and blew out one of his eardrums, and he had a traumatic brain injury from that. He spent a couple weeks in the hospital, and he went out back to his unit, and it was several days after that when his unit got overran and they got brought. Grandfather never talked to me about his military service at all, probably because I was too young. I was 9, 10 years old when he died. But I did get a book on his unit. He was tortured. They were all tortured. They spent their first 3 days at the, that's awesome that they're putting the horn up there. The first 3 days that he spent in captivity was spent in a railroad car. And these cars were meant to hold 40 people, but they had about 75 to 80 people crammed in them. No food, no bathroom facilities. The only water they got was the water they sprayed up on the cars. And it was winter. So the water they sprayed up on the cars, and the first thing the Germans had done was took their boots and took their gloves and took their hats because they wanted them to stay warm. So there's 100 people or 70 people crammed into this railroad car. After 3 days, when they opened it up, about a third of those people were dead. They were corpses, but they couldn't fall to the ground because they were shoved in there so tight. That's one of the more pleasant things that happened in the prisoner of war camp. And I never understood why my grandfather was the way he was till I was older and I'd read and got all this information. And it was obvious that my grandfather, when he got back, he had to spend about 18 months in the psychiatric ward down in Indianapolis. And every couple months he'd get to take the bus and come back home, or grandma, who's still raising the 2 small kids, would take a bus and go to Indianapolis and visit him. So you want to talk about sacrifice. It's not just the veterans sacrificing, the wives, the children, the grandchildren, because my grandfather, I can't even use the language he spoke to me in, but I didn't know that it was harsh or bad language. It was just grandpa language. And he had things, they didn't have PTSD that they treated back then. They called it shell shock, and grandpa self-medicated with Seagram 7 was his thing. So he had little nippers laying around his property, and that was my job. Go get my nipper, boy. And I'd go find his nipper, and he'd take a nip. And that's how grandpa dealt with the trauma and the horror and the thing. But again, the family, that's not the healthiest environment to raise a family in, but it's the best he could do with what he was given and the circumstances he was put in. So there's no malice. But grandfather, when he died, I can remember that flag draping over his casket. I can remember the soldiers coming up and folding it into a triangle. And then I can remember that sitting on top of our grandfather clock my entire life. My Uncle Howard, who was my grandmother's brother, he died in World War II. He was a tank commander. His name of his tank was the Chicago Cub, and they nicknamed him the Wolf. And so I always thought, man, he must have been really tough and really bad, you know, be called the Wolf. Well, if you look up 1940s slang, wolf translates as playboy, or dog, as we would say today. And my great uncle was a journalist. He graduated from The Ohio State with a degree in journalism. And he was 28 years old when he went into World War II, and he was a tank commander, and very good one. But he would write. He would meet all these women wherever he was, and he would write them letters, and they would write him letters back. So when mail call would come around, the Wolf would get 13 or 14 or 15 perfumed letters, and that's why they called him the Wolf. Had nothing to do with his prowess on the battlefield. So I always thought that was awesome. But I thought about what happened to our family. We lost the only college graduate until my sister graduated from college that had ever been in our family. I think that's so cool that everybody's honking and doing that. They took the money from my Uncle Howard's death benefit, which was $10,000 back during World War II, and they invested that money and bought a house. And my great-grandfather and my great-aunt lived in that house until both of them had passed. So that part of my uncle's life got us a house, but how much more valuable to have a college-educated journalist veteran in the family to lead and guide. So I often wonder what our lives would have been like if I'd have had something to role model. Because in high school, I had scholarships offered to me or whatever, but I just didn't think I was capable of college. I knew our military history, and so I went in the Army. And for me, I always felt a need to up everybody. Well, it's hard to up war vets and stuff, so I seen a movie called Rambo First Blood, and as silly as that sounds, that motivated me to want to do something hard, difficult, challenge, prove myself. And so I decided to go into the Army Rangers and did that for 7 years. It was very exciting. I was with the 3rd 75th Ranger Battalion at what used to be called Fort Benning, Georgia. I don't know what it's called now, but it was Fort Benning, Georgia, and I heard they've changed the name. My brother was an Air Force veteran. He loaded missiles on F-16s down in the Philippines and was in for 4 years. So as that flag's draped there and I look by, when I see the American flag flying, the closest thing I can do this is when I go through Dayton. There's a big one that hangs off a crane a lot of times. But it really marks the spot, and it really brings up all those feelings. I've had lots of friends that have passed and have went in battle and out of battle. I started a group, a PTSD support group at the American Legion in Van Wert to help family members, to help service members that are struggling with PTSD and get them the help they need. And the group doesn't do that. The group tells them where to go and what to do and gives support like a support group should. So if you know anybody that needs that kind of help, they can come down to Van Wert. It's a quick drive. It's once a month. And we meet and we talk and we just have like-minded people that can help out with those difficult. Erica had mentioned a couple people, I believe, that had killed themselves, or was that you, Paige, that had done it? So when Paige had mentioned those people had taken their lives, a lot of people don't understand there's 22 veterans a day on average that take their own life. That's more than we lost in war in the last 20 years. We lose more to that. And people don't understand it's not a sign of weakness. Veterans get to a point where they get tired of fighting for their benefits. They get tired of the health issues. They get tired of the trauma in their head and they're not quite sure what to do with it. And so sometimes I think the best way they can support the group is by leaving it. And why we know that's not true, it's hard to get that out of the head because they feel like they're being a burden. They feel like they're holding the family down. They feel like they're holding their friends down. They feel like they're letting their buddies down. And that's why they do it. And that doesn't make it right, but there are things we can do to change that. By letting people talk about it, letting people get support, taking away the stigmas, trying to compare whose PTSD is worse than the other person's PTSD. I guarantee you, if you spend a year somewhere and you are in fear of your life every day, eventually you don't even get afraid anymore. You can jump out of airplanes, you can get blown up on termite mounds, and it doesn't even register. You don't even think about dying anymore. You just accept that you're already dead, so you live until you die. And so when you come out of that environment and you're trying to figure out what kind of cereal you want in Walmart, it's quite a shift. And the Army does a great job, the military does a great job, the Marines and the Navy and the Air Force, and they indoctrinate you, but they don't unindoctrinate you. And so those are the issues that kind of plague that. It is the 249th anniversary of the United States Army today. It's the birthday of the Army 249 years ago. And you want to talk about some hard soldiers, read what happened at Valley Forge and how they just spent that winter, and just surviving through the elements was amazing in itself. I thank you very much for having me out to speak today. I'll be at the Elks if anybody wants to talk about anything, and thank you very much.
Up next, to close out our event, we have Defiance Mayor Mike McCann.
You aren't going to get away. You know, it's kind of hard for me to imagine that 250 years ago almost that General George Washington directed Betsy Ross to design our first American flag. And then 250 years later almost, a local guy here by the name of Brian Keller was inspired to start what you see us today. And then that was assigned to this young lady right here. And her task, as she mentioned, for the last 2 years, has been to go out and raise nearly $200,000 to bring Brian's vision to fruition and what we see today. So thank you. Thank you very much. I'll remind all of you that at the conclusion of this ceremony, There's also a Flag Day ceremony, as there is every year, at the Defiance Elks Lodge on South Jefferson Street. And now if you would all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, which will conclude today's ceremony. I pledge allegiance. Thank you all for coming. God bless all of you, and God bless the great city of Defiance, Ohio.